Hi, it's Rich Tehrani with TMCnet. Thanks for watching. We're in Santa Clara today for the Silicon Valley Editors Day that TMCnet does typically every year. And Jaime Fink is with us, and he's with Mimosa. Jaime, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me here today.
So you've been on the show before, but for those people who might not have seen prior programs, let us know about your company.
Yeah, sure. So Mimosa is all about using wireless technology to kind of bridge the gap that we see today with traditional wired internet. So I think everybody can identify with not having many options for internet providers. And in a lot of cases, there's people stuck around the country. It's probably 19 million people in the US that still can't get better than ADSL technology. So we saw this big gap in the market, having previously been fiber and DSL guys, and thought, you know, what if we could really evolve the latest Wi-Fi technology and turn that into something that could really work in high-density markets and really open up opportunities for new broadband connections. So Mimosa's technology was really all built around that to make it much, much easier to deliver new broadband service.
And who are your customers?
Today, we actually started kind of dogfooding the technology in the wireless ISP industry. Now, this has traditionally been in rural areas where DSL or cable wasn't. So it started by servicing what we call the red line communities where there wasn't service. But what we've accomplished with the technology now that we've rolled out is technology that is far more spectrally efficient and spectrally friendly for reusing the spectrum. What does that mean in simple terms? I can now move that technology into suburban and urban environments where 80% of the population lives. So this is the first time fixed wireless technology can be used in high density areas. So it's really pretty cool technology and cost basis that really is a fraction of what fiber to the home costs. So now that we've seen the fiber guys, the Googles and the AT&Ts really slow down their movement towards fiber delivery and all come on board with this concept of fixed wireless being kind of the future of internet access. We were kind of ahead of that game, and now we've got our first deployments out there. So these are starting kind of in the suburban areas, but really it's more independent ISPs today. But today we have probably 4,000 customers globally in about 115 countries that are smaller guys, so you can imagine how that scales. Now our jobs are to get some of the bigger guys to go after it into the higher density markets.
That's great. Really exciting. Yeah. Many people predicted that when companies like Google started to dig up concrete that it probably wasn't a sustainable model, and it seems like wireless got to the point where it was. I guess it's ready now. At least they believe it's ready, whether it's balloons or whether it's Facebook drones or whatever it is.
Right.
Low orbit satellites, right? Some new technology or a set of technologies is going to encompass us.
Yeah. Well, I think that tech is actually still targeted at the balloons, drones, and satellites, et cetera. That's still targeted at the kind of developing, very rural markets where there's literally zero internet. They weren't really designed for coming into the cities. And that's actually, if you look at actually the number of people that have poor connectivity, it's way, way higher population density-wise. There's issues in the city and suburban environments. And that's a global issue, not just here in the US. So really what we're seeing now was that 7 years ago, when they started looking at fiber, this tech didn't exist. So it was probably the right bet to go after fiber. But as you said, the wireless technology evolved. Everybody's realized that it can far surpass it. Now we can, the goal is to get to gigabit speeds with fixed wireless at, a fifth of the cost. So now I think what you've seen, even Google went and bought a wireless ISP about six months back in San Francisco. And that was, I think, the first moment where people said, this really is an opportunity to deliver gigabit speeds over wireless, whether it's now to apartment buildings, which is what they're now focusing on. Our focus has really been moving into the suburban environment where single-family homes and where most people live in kind of traditional neighborhoods. And that's where our technology really shines.
It's exciting.
Very much so. It's we were called crazy 4 years ago because people weren't into it. But at the time, we were pretty positive that we knew, having built fiber technology and DSL previously, that this was just a total game changer. So.
And in terms of news, is there anything relatively new that we should know about?
Yeah, so literally, we've been shipping product for about 18 months, but that's mostly been infrastructure technology. So we kind of get asked, where does fiber meet your network, so to speak? And it's kind of different answers. In some cases, when we're working with municipalities, they'll give access to the ISPs we're working with to their fiber. But for the most part, they're having to go many miles to get to a data center because they don't want to pay for the transit cost of fiber to get into a neighborhood. neighborhood. So up until now, we've been doing 5, 10, 50-mile links to places to deliver bandwidth into communities that had very little connectivity. So that's where the majority of our customers started. The new stuff is now moving into these suburban environments. So literally over the next month, that stuff is really starting to roll out in earnest. So that's forcing us to now focus not just on that technology, but also how to make a service provider scale. How can we make it easy to deploy? Make sure, what does everybody say in their house when their internet goes bad? They say, my Wi-Fi sucks. What they really mean is their service provider's terrible, but it really was their Wi-Fi that was the problem, and they don't know how to fix those problems. So that's kind of the next evolution for us. We learned this at our previous company as well, working with big service providers. You have to optimize that tech and make sure that you're leaving behind a subscriber with hundreds of megabits of speed of Wi-Fi in their house. And we still find people from 10 years ago having 10 megabit rated Ethernet cables that they didn't realize were causing problems. So it's quite a huge effort that we have to take on from the data center all the way to the home. But we've really been able to execute on that, and now we're moving further into the home and making sure that a true broadband ecosystem exists so that people can enjoy these gigabit speeds. Because today, you just don't even know it when you're only getting 10 megabits and you're complaining about your kid's iPad not working in the bedroom. There's more reasons than just your ISP that's the problem.
Sure.
So we're really taking on quite a bit here at this point.
So what's next?
What's next? So really, I think today we're operating mostly in the 5 gigahertz spectrum and a few different license spectrums. Next step for us is really expanding spectrum opportunities. We want to be able to go after the 3 gigahertz spectrum that's come up. We don't want to have to use the Wi-Fi spectrums where we don't have to. So really what's next for us is really getting the ISPs to scale. The technology is already there and shipping. That's the really cool thing. We've executed on it and it's there. So now it's really getting the ISPs to move away from the wired to space, and they're starting to do that on their own, but really the education process that this is an opportunity. And then, like I said, expanding out into a bunch of different spectrum. We've already delivered both unlicensed and licensed technology so far with our tech and set it at groundbreaking price points. So we're down to $250 to $300 total investment per subscriber, and that can continue to come down and continue to move into licensed spaces.
We're talking about less than what, $1,000 plus for
it's $1,200 to $1,800 for fiber minimum, and even LTE, which is being proposed for fixed access with 5G and that's roughly today still about $1,000 per subscriber. So I think even the Verizon CEO came out and said, today fixed wireless is still kind of the same cost as fiber, but it's far easier for us to deploy. We think that that's wrong. We know what the cost basis can be if they take the technology cost approaches that we've taken. So when we start from the Wi-Fi tech and evolve it and modify it to do intelligent carrier-grade features, we've been able to get to $100 customer premise equipment. So.
That's great. Is there anything we left out?
No, I think you hit on the really big stuff. I mean, it's just exciting for our team to be here. We've been in business now 4 years, so it's fun to be. I think we're probably one of the only venture-funded telecommunications companies now in the Valley. So it's pretty fun to be doing this and seeing the rest of the industry latch on to the idea we had 4 years ago. So it's just a good time.
Well, congratulations. Keep up the good work. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, very much appreciate it.